Introduce myself. My name is Lori McClain. Oh, I'm telling you, none of my technology wants to work. My name is Lori McClain. I'm from Inman Middle School. I have taught third grade, I've taught second, I've taught seventh, and I've taught eighth. And I have got a degree in geology and geoscience. And I have done biology, I've done chemistry, I've done several things. But there's some things as a new teacher coming in that I've started doing that they send like student teachers to me going, you need to look at how her binders are set up and how she does her binders. So I've got a few classroom things I'm going to show you. And then I have a few just odds and ends and things I do that work in my classroom. So the basics. I do a reward system in my classroom using poker chips. I write points on both sides. I sign my initials on it. I get the cheap ones from Walmart, and they have so many points of value. Discipline has been a problem since COVID. And if you have classroom management, then you can teach all this other stuff. And if you need something to reward the good kids and the kids that's doing everything right, then this is kind of the way to go. It's cheap. It saves you money on candy. It saves you money on prizes, things like that. And I will also say, if you've got somebody who works at Walgreens or Walmart, they can get like a discount when candy goes on sale. They are I'm telling you, I've got a network of people. But anyway, if I keep blue ones, which are my most expensive ones, they can buy ice. I brought my ice machine to school. They want a cup of ice. That's the cheapest thing I put out. And so, but if a kid's on task, if they're getting their binder out, if they're putting their binder on the shelf, if they're on task when nobody else is, I lay a blue poker chip on their table. I don't have to say a word. Everybody else gets in check. So poker chips is a good way to go for just discipline and getting your class going. Um, Sigma rubric. I don't know how many people saw this on TikTok. I kind of embraced it. I'm sorry, my mouth. It's so dry. I kind of embraced it. It is so much cringe for my eighth graders, but it works. I even got observed one day and did not realize I was using the Sigma rubric talk that we do in class. And my principal asked me after class, and I showed it to him. He said they were on task. He said they knew what they needed to do to be Sigma. Some of them would come up to me and ask me about is this good work? And I said, no, that's mid. And then when I was talking to other kids, I said, y'all, this table over here is cooking. So you need to come, everybody needs to come see what this table's doing. Also, I use it. These are my different colors that I use. Like my orange group and my green group have dropped down. But if they stay and make it to Sigma by the Friday, they get to pull an extra poker chip. They will put up binders neatly. My binders don't fall on the floor. Everybody else's look a hot mess. My binders up there, they're all neatly done because they know they get an extra chip at the end of the 6 weeks for keeping binders in order. But they'll push seats up. I've not had a class push chairs up in 25 years of teaching without me telling them. I don't have to tell them. They'll pick paper up out of the floor. The janitor even made a comment. He said, I don't have to do a whole lot to your classroom. I'm like, because they want to all stay on Sigma. Like somebody knocked a binder off in the floor today. And I said, y'all are dropping down until y'all can get somebody to pick that up. Another thing is magic coloring book and ending a candle on fire. When I start school at the first of the year, if you haven't seen this done, it comes in really handy. Now with CRE, CERs, get it backwards, claim reason evidence, CREs, and just trying to get them to write a descriptive detail about any kind of science discipline at all is like pulling teeth. So I came up with this. Some of this I got from the Tennessee Science Convention. Some of it I got traveling with different schools and stuff, taking different classes. But I'm telling you, at the first of the year, they don't need to to be terrified of you or to think that, who is this person? But I start off by telling them that they could tell me details about anything that they did not see, like maybe a fight that happened on bus with the county. Well, they don't ride the county buses. We're a city school, and they can give me details and descriptions. But I ask them to look at something in front of them, and they go, "It is a rock. It is." And so it's trying to break them out of that, but also trying to lead them into writing. What is your reasoning behind it? What is your evidence behind it? So magic coloring book. I ordered I knew when my other one had it, and I ordered a mini. It was this big. It was a mini one. So make sure you don't order this one. These are about $14, but I have them come in. Let me see if I can move it down a little bit. I have them watch carefully, and I'll say, "This is my magic coloring book. I want you to observe what I'm doing. I want you to see if you really think I'm magic or not." And I'll tap on it, and I'll say, "I think I just want to draw today," and so I'll flip through it. And then I'll have a kid tap on it. I say, "Do you want it colored or do you want a coloring book?" And they said, "I don't know." Well, they'll tap on it and say they want it already colored. So then you flip through those pages. Then you say, "Well, I just want to color it myself." And you kind of do this as you're walking. Oh, I didn't grab it right. Kind of do this as you're walking, and it shows the different pages. But if you grab it at the bottom, it's blank. If you grab it in the middle, it's colored. And if you grab it at the top, but I'm trying to always move my hands and move around the room as I'm doing it and flip through it, and the oohs and the ahs. And I don't ever tell them, because if I tell them I have 4 other classes, I'll tell it by the end of the day at lunch. So I usually tell them about a week after. But then I give them a minute to write and fill out what do they think I'm doing. Some of them will think you're possessed, but most of the time, they'll say crazy stuff like, "I think that you're really magic. I think that you're doing real magic." Another thing I do is eating a candle on fire. I tell them, and I tell them I have to get away from a vent. I kind of act like my clip lighter is going to go out. So I try to get away from them. And as soon as I eat it, I flop it over. But peanuts are flammable. And so I tell them it's a wood wick candle. I hold it up, I huff it, I eat it, and I flip this down. And I said, "Now what did you see me do?" And so some of them will say it's a marshmallow. A lot of these kids do not know what a zero bar is. Zero bars are older. I have to really dig sometimes at Walmart to find them. But, and sometimes if you're really good, you can huff it and blow smoke out of your nose. Then they're really, talking bad about you then, for sure. But anyway, those are some things to kind of help get observations going, get them to make more detailed observations. I tell them they have to use detailed words. And some of them will sit there for a minute, and that they just need to process it. So that's another good thing to kind of get them going. And so I've got on here different pictures of different things on my PowerPoint that you can kind of see how it works, and just a reminder as to what that one is. Binders. Like I said, I get a lot of people in and out of my room going, "How are you doing your binders? What are you doing that nobody else is doing?" My binders are color coordinated by class, like this. They have in the front, we put our standards. Because we're 8th grade, I also give them a copy of what we use at the end of the year to show them what their classes are, because I think they need to know what their classes are going to be in high school and what their goals are at the first of the year. Because when we used to hand those out in March, we had people cry. They go, "I've waited too late." I said, "I've told you all year you're waiting too late." So I've started getting them that. And you can see this. I have my sections broken down into disciplines, but everything I give them, they number if it's a note, or it's numbered on the paper. Everything has a number. I put them on my board in color. So if it is black on the board, it's a notebook check. If it is red on the board, it's graded. And I will put G out beside of it. And like I have them listed on my board now, and it has them in the different colors. So this saves me on grading papers. I grade the red papers, but like today we did a notebook check in class. They know that goes in their binder. If they didn't finish the notes, they can get the rest of them off Teams or Google, whatever you have that you use. And then it becomes their problem. But at the end of the 6 weeks, I do a notebook check. That is an example on that next page. It's kind of an example of my next one. I do a notebook check. So I will have what page number to go to in your binder to find what was in black on the board. So if you didn't finish those notes, like I had people from the first of 6 weeks and it's been up there all 6 weeks on the board. I number it on the board. I number it in Power School when I grade the graded papers that are read. But it's been up there for a month and they go, well, I don't have that. I wasn't here that day. And it's been 5 weeks later or whatever. And they lose those points. They lose points for the grade and they also lose bonus. I get this out right the day of the test. They get their binders out, they take notes, but it's stuff that's on the test. They don't study. So, this kind of gets them to go over it one more time before we actually do the test. Also, I let them get a note card to write as much information the day before on, and they get to use it during the test. And I haven't seen a lot of value in that other than the fact it makes them understand. I just need to write the things on my card I don't know. Some of them are trying to write every note for, 6 weeks on there. So those kind of things. Tiny dancers. I'm going to move on to physical science. If you've not done tiny dancers, it's cheap. I get my wire at Walmart and you kind of have to scrape it off. It's over in the jewelry section. It's 2 small batteries, neodymium batteries, and then you have the pattern. You can get the pattern offline. I was too afraid to share some of the stuff that I have because some of it came from Teacher Pay Teacher and some of it is self-developed from a girl that was worked here that now has put it on. I just didn't want to do any plagiarism, so I just kind of took some screenshots for you. But you can find this. I don't necessarily give them enough wire to make the dancer part, but they can make it any way they want to. And they can actually get excited about it. I also, no, I think I had it on another slide, but I like this because it motors, it teaches them you got to have a battery, it teaches them you got to have a magnet, and it also teaches them you got to be able to touch both sides just enough to make that spin. And I get so excited when those kids that struggle do it first and get it, and the people that are usually my kids that are really my better thinkers overthink it like an adult would, and they struggle getting it for a change. And that gives me so much joy because that the ones that struggle are usually the ones that get this, and it sticks with them and you refer back to it. Spectroscopy. I don't know how many of you, if you teach 8th grade, you have spectroscopy. I'm lucky enough, I have 2 of these. I also have these. I could not find them on, these are my favorite. You'll see some pictures of my students, I think, actually doing it. And I do have some of those tubes. They are horrible. This is going to be on my list to invest in because the little thing on the end stays in it a whole lot better. You can see the actual numbered colored grid lines on the sides when you look on the sides to see it looking at the different things. Like if you don't know if you have one of these and don't know what to do, you should have some tubes. I had somebody message me going, what is this? And what am I doing with this? You should have some tubes that go in. It gets very hot. I don't let the kids put it in there. But if you teach the periodic table, if you teach hydrogen, helium, any kind of gas, electrified gas, a neon, these are great for that as well without even doing the spectroscopy. But this right here is one of my kids, we call it a day in the dark. It's one of my kids' favorite things. And I have glow sticks going. I have black light. I have fluorescent lights. I have any kind of light I can find. And they have to color the colors in order that are either emitted or absorbed the best they can. And some of them struggle with it, but through that struggle, when we do another experiment or another activity, I think it's on Teacher Pay Teacher, where you line up the different chemicals and match them with their spectroscopy, they actually start snapping into place. So sometimes I do the other first and then do this, but they love this day. So if you're just watching videos about it, if you're not doing it, I did try to make some one year, That was kind of a hot mess. I might try it again with a group that I can trust a little bit more. We had cut fingers. We had a bunch of CDs, like the gentleman said last week. We had these tons of CDs sitting around. And so I started cutting them up, and you can take tape and peel the little metal part off. And it makes great ones of these, but they get cut on it if you can't get your edges right. And, sanding it down takes a lot for 100 and something kids, because I really wanted everybody to have their own. But they really liked it. They walked around the hall. They went to different classes. Some of the we can swap with our class across the hall. That's science, because we both match, and so we had stuff in both classes, and they saw what different light caused different colors. So that's another thing. If you are doing this activity, I can tell you it works so much better if you get two to a group with your compass for your field lines, magnetic field, and do it on the table with a Sharpie, with a dry erase marker. We started, for years, we've let them do it in groups on the paper, and then we've let them do it independently. But what I did first and this happens to be what I got observed on the day my principal was asking me what were we talking about, Sigma. But anyway, this works really well if you'll start it on the table, draw the square around it, and then have them do it as groups of two. Once they get it together,
I see it. Good job.
Once they get it together, you can put it in. Once you get it together, I'm sorry, y'all, I have so much brain fog. Once they get it together and get it done, then have them do it independently again. And between those two this year, it seemed like it helped connect a lot more and make a lot better sense to them. And they were able to see it correctly done and then do it correctly themselves individually, with a group and without. You can see on the video that you can see how they did it on the table on the picture that I added to the PowerPoint that's in your chat. Lipopodium powder. I know a lot of people do it. Some people just don't know how to do it safely. I do not know, and I have looked for a week now, who I loaned my big bottle of lipopodium powder to, but I will show you that this is some old that does not work, but I will show you. I literally squirt this out and then just click the lighter on and then blow it through the lighter away from me. And it works very well. If you want a safer way to do it, that you don't have to, blow in it, you don't have to shoot it across the room, an eyedropper or a little dropper of sorts with some in it. I also stick it down in the jar and try to catch it on fire and show them until those particles mix with the particles of oxygen in the air, it's not flammable. So I know a lot of you do that already. I feel like I'm putting on a show of tricks today, but I buy a lot at the magic store. Every time I go in, I try to figure out something else I can do. But I saw this done years ago, and I'm sure a lot of people have done it as well, where they took flash paper and they were talking about how they were going to talk about non-renewable and renewable resources, but you can also use it in conservation of matter, and where nothing can be destroyed or created. And you could talk about that and ask them where do they think it went, and then it's gone. There's nothing left of it. There's nothing, there's no. So where did it go? Like I tell them, some of it goes up your nose, some of it goes in the air, it goes in the vent. So flash paper is another good thing to use for either one of those. I included this because with minerals and rocks and what's important to us, things like that, you can get this off the U.S. Department of Interior, but there's a bunch of these out here. But this is an awesome way to introduce the different commodities we use, the different elements we use to make our military uniforms and everything that goes with our military, everything that our military has on their suits, from their guns to different things. And it comes with a worksheet. And I really like at the bottom the summary where it says write a paragraph on the back stating your opinion about these. You could even lead this into some kind of debate for RTI if you wanted to, or you could have them discuss it as a debate. But I get a lot of great information from this. Here in Benton and Henry County, we have one of the biggest deposits of titanium that we're not totally utilizing. So if you're in Benton and Henry County, that's something that you might look into for the future. And make sure that goes away. I'm sorry. Look into for the future so that you know how that's starting to progress, and that might be something economically you could look at, things like that. Another great project we did last year was helmets. I borrowed some helmets from football. And it was a really good project in the fact that they could try a helmet on. A lot of these girls have never put a helmet on. There was a lot of guys that's never played football. A lot of them had not felt the inside of it, and how if you hit it, if it's too big and you hit it, it just kind of gives your ears a ringing. Or if it doesn't fit just right and you can't get on your head right, how it could be dangerous. And so we did a lot of activities with this, but that's a really good RTI or a really good project to do. And then we got cardboard outside, and for probably about 6 weeks, because I only had them an hour a day for different RTIs and getting through all four of them, they tried to mold out of cardboard in some groups some helmets, and I was so impressed. They brought in so many things to put for different padding on the inside. Some of them even had like fur that they thought the fur would be, but then I thought that's going to get sweaty and stink. But anyway, they had that idea. University of Tennessee at Martin and Coon Creek Science Center. This is the number for them. A few sessions back, we had somebody mention about getting a bucket of rocks or a bucket of fossils, or getting some fossil potatoes, is what we call them, individually wrapped, that were in some dirt. So I'm going to tell a little bit about Coon Creek. That's where I did a lot of my field experience. If you're not utilizing Coon Creek, like this is at the discovery part, these are Mossosauruses. I think it's a Mossy or a Plessy. That's a Mossy. That were here in Tennessee when Tennessee was under a shallow ocean. If we took 300 kids a day to Coon Creek for 300 years, we would not collect or take out of the ground and the creek and everything else all the fossils that are deposited there. And so it became such a big thing. Tractor Supply even has Plessies, and they have Mossosauruses in their little collection of stuff. That they carry, because when Tennessee was in a shallow ocean, I think at one point it was 7 maybe of larger pieces of Plesiosauruses that we have dug out of Coon Creek that are bigger aquatic animals. And there is a Mosasaurus baby at the bottom of the hill in the basin of at Coon Creek that you can that they're going to try to extract, but it's going to take like $12,000 to do so. So that's something else that you could look into. I also have crinoids. I have found if you're ever out, if you're like me and you ride trails and stuff around here, sometimes in the walls of creeks, you'll see these funny looking things. And there's a place at right outside of Dover, the other side of Dover, that has a place where you can actually buy crinoids in pieces and different crinoid things, different things. But you can actually see where it had the stem in the middle, and then where the actual little loose things that you won't ever find because they all get destroyed. But that is Coon Creek's a good resource. A couple of weeks from now, they have days that you can go on a weekend and do a half visit day. If you tell them you're a teacher, it's still $20. But if you tell them a teacher, I know my school pays for it. Like in a couple of weeks, I'm going to go to a day, and I'm going to do it myself because I've been on staff there years ago, and they kind of let me come in now that Martin owns it. But you could ask them for maybe if you could get how much it costs. It might be $50 depending on how much you need. I usually get $100 worth because I have 2 teams of students that I have to supply to. But you get potatoes of matrix, and you actually get to let the kids dig their own fossil and keep their own fossil. It has a classroom in there. You can spend the night there. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts do sometimes. They have teacher workshops, but if you want a professional development just for your school, you can call them and they will set that up for you to do a professional development there. It's at McNairy County, right kind of outside. It's in Enid, Tennessee. I think I'm saying that right, but it's outside of Lexington a little bit. But it's so worth going. They have a lot of astronomy information. They have workshops in the summer for kids. They have like kids science weekends that you can come and they can do concrete fossils and learn all day. They can sign up like your personal children. They also did an astronomy night. Dr. Cruz at UT Martin is a huge job with astronomy. And so he has got a lot of stuff set up out there to do with astronomy. If you teach astronomy and you struggle with it, it's a good time to go and tell them, go on one of those days. But they have classrooms. I did my field experience there for my master's. We also did things like the sundial thing, and we made a sundial out in the field. Matrix is what it's in. It's not a dirt. It is fossilized sand, basically. They've started testing that now for microorganisms that might live in it. Once my kids get finished with the matrix and they've dug their fossils out, if they don't want to take that home, I collect it. And our ag department has ran projects before with their greenhouse where they have put matrix on tomato plants and they have put regular dirt on the other, and these like acidity tomato plants do. So this is very acidic, and so it helps to grow anything that you have that has likes a lot of acidity. But they turn the matrix up. That's my Jeep. You can kind of see these big heat piles. It costs them quite a bit to do so, but they will dig on this for a few years, even with having the community groups come in. One thing I love about what they do with the community groups, you get to go in the actual creek. When Pete Palace owned it, you didn't get to go in the creek. And if you went in the creek and found something museum quality, they took it away from you. I've got a bunch of pieces sitting in a drawer at Pete Palace because I got it taken away from me. But if you collected whatever you collect that day on community day, they let you bring it back with you. And they have tons and tons and tons of resources. A lot of times that crinoid will be on our test for ELS and also for 10 ready. So a lot of my kids get to pass it around and stuff and things like that. I just happen to look up and find it. I have both bivalves to the Tennessee State Fossil, which is the Petrotrigonia. And most of the time in the creek and sometimes on the land part, I can always find either a large piece of one or both bivalves of the Tennessee State Fossil. That I get really excited when I get good pieces of that. And most of the time the kids all find some, and they will get excited over a broken fossil. They will get excited on fossil fragments. They will be so glad to just get anything that they get so excited. I had a year after COVID that was really rough with a really kind of extra group of students. I'll say that. Discipline was hard to keep in check. But when we did this day, some of those kids sat there and did it and were so into it that it made me happy because I thought maybe something will, click with them. But anyway, there's some more pictures on the PowerPoint. You can see where it's chock full of fossils. My husband went with me to collect fossils one time, and he was stepping on some that had kind of washed off the pile of ground. He goes, "Am I breaking the law?" I said, "No, sometimes you have to break some to get to some." You need to always dig away from where it is and then move into it. There are different kinds of fossils in limestone. If you know anybody that works at Vulcan Industries in Purrier, outside of Purrier, maybe it is Purrier. We got to go on site there one time. There's a crinoid, a picture of it on there so you can kind of remember what it looks like. This is the rib of a whalebone, and I got that in Florida. at the St. Augustine. They had an Indian store there, and the gentleman gave it to me. He gave me some fossilized turtle shell and gave me some fossilized rib bone of manatees. But it has different kinds of rocks that you can identify. There's a picture of the Tennessee State fossil. I even have, when I give my kids thank you notes and stuff, I have a little card that we used to make. I think they still sell them at Coon Creek, that I give them a card made of, that's got that on the front with the information about what it is. You can find big fossilized pieces like this in the creek. Like I said, when you're in the creek, this broke my heart because I cracked it, but that's okay. You can, they'll show you how to treat it. Some people tend to want to leave it in some of the matrix. Some people like me, I have got to have it completely out, but I take that chance of breaking it. And so, you have to have a lot of patience. Your kids have to have a lot of patience. But a lot of them will do really well with this. This is in the creek. There's the wall of the creek. And if you can look really closely, you can just see fossils all in the creek, all in the walls of it. There's some dried. They have this poster that tells you your basics you can find. They also have several pieces display in the history. Coon Creek, they've realized it. Some guy was feeding his chickens, I think in the 1800s, and thought it was calcium deposits, and he was feeding his chickens. And then when they realized it was fossils, he donated the land, and then over the years we've just found more and more and more. There's different information on here that I pass out. This is kind of the setup for my room. I buy these little tubs. They each get a potato. I am big on using these little paper plate, like meat trays you can buy at the dollar store. And I also use like those styrofoam cake boxes, to go boxes you buy at the dollar store, to put their fossils in, to take it home to protect them if they want to finish digging something out. Because some of them will start digging something big out, and then we have to change class, so they can put it in there and take it home and protect it. You can see they can find pretty big pieces. So I feel like I've kind of run through that quick. If you have any questions, let me know. My screen's kind of turned on something funny. I can still see myself. My next thing is fear factor review. I get a lot of questions about this as well. I know some people that's probably on this meeting have tried it before. It is a very effective way to review at Halloween when your whole life is crazy. When they're coming in either the day of Halloween, and we usually have some kind of crazy spirit dress up day that day. And they're coming in here crazy. So what I do is I make gross food, and I have done it, and I'm thinking about doing it this year. I don't do all the Halloween decorations, but I bring all this stuff back out. I do it again. I think I'm going to do it in May, or in right before the week before spring break, and we're going to go over the review questions again. But I pick something and put it on a plate, and I have a table set up front, and I have kids on both, one on one side, one on the other, and they can sit in whichever front of whatever. But they've got what, if they get it wrong, they don't have to eat. They have a choice. Nobody, we don't try to, shame anybody into doing it or anything. But I draw a number. They come and they sit here, and they will sit on the edge of their seat. Plus, I give out a packet the day before, or sometimes the week, like the Monday of that week, so they can just work on it on their own, of the possible questions that they'll have. They will study that and take a book home when they don't take any other book home, because they don't want to eat, but they don't want, some of them do, but they don't want to eat, and they want to get a prize. I usually do Capri Suns, something a little bigger than just regular stuff. Sometimes I buy stuff that's like the Halloween stuff and things like that. But I put it in front of them. They get first person gets a question. They get it wrong, they have a choice. They can walk away, not get a prize, or they can go to my big garbage can and they can see it, and they can sit over it, and they have to eat everything on their plate. Show me a clean tongue. They can't eat it all. Usually the eyeballs over here are the worst, and they're really not the worst thing to me. Pumpkin puke would be bad for me, but the eyeballs are it seem to be the worst for people because of the big olive in it. I get the biggest olive I can find. I get the cheap cheese biscuits, they're $1 a pack. put them on a tray, put the eyeball in the middle, and sometimes I put red around it, and sometimes I put green food coloring. Also, I have a skippity toilet, and if you know, you know. They will flush that instead of getting a prize. Saves me on candy. There you go. I don't get it, but that's okay. But they will flush that. I got it on sale for like $5. It's been the best $5 I've ever spent. But if you know, you know. Table, chair, floor for review and for quizzes. If you still can do Quizlet with the note card stuff, they have the best group one to do it on. They've taken it away from us because it was asking for parents' information. Even though we were putting the kids' emails back in it again, they said that no, we couldn't do that. So they took it away from us. Quizzes, you can do a team thing in Quizlet. But my kids, and we've had it with the other kids where our classes match up, where one group sits on one set of tables and another class sits in chairs, and whoever wins gets to go to tables and other people have to go to chairs. I just don't, it's important to them to get to sit on top of the desk. But when I play that, if your group wins, you get to stay on desk. Everybody else goes to chairs. And then if the next round, those that were in chairs lose again, they go to floor. But if you were in chairs and your group wins that round, you get to go back to tables. So it's the same stuff you're doing. It just gives it a little movement to where they are actually engaged and they're actually working. And teams works better and groups work better because it makes everybody pull their weight. And then I have resources that I have with the Science Teacher Association. If you're not a member of the Tennessee Science Teacher Association or don't go to their meetings, I highly recommend it if you can't go any day but Friday. Excuse me. The new standards came out on that Friday. The new standards, and they didn't have the new standards yet by the last one, but they did some brainstorming, and they did some brainstorming about activities. A lot of what I have gotten over the years, like places to go, things I can apply for, programs and fellowships I can do, things like that. I've gotten a lot of information from that association. I didn't get to go last year because I have been sick for a few years, had visits to Nashville, so I didn't get to go. And I tried to make it where I could run by there and at least get to go through and kind of see all the new stuff, and it didn't work out. But if you're not a member of that, I'm going to kind of plug that because it really, really, really is. It's full of information, and you get to collaborate. I've made friends there that I still have today from doing different things at the thing. Like we might have been in a class together and we get to talking and we start sharing ideas, and then we share with each other, and we still keep up with each other. I still get information from them and them from me. Oak Ridge Institute of Science and Education. I'm pretty sure somebody's probably shared this at some point, maybe. But if they haven't, that's a great resource. Like I have entered my kids in competition. Sometimes on Facebook, they'll have, if you just fill out this survey, we're giving away a 3D printer. Well, I got a little bitty 3D printer for free for just filling out a survey. I won it. They were giving like 4 or 5 away. But if you get the opportunity to actually go, they do free PD in the summer. If you're one of those that has a hard time getting your professional development hours in, you have to sign on. It's some interaction for a lot of it, but some of the classes are like 2 and 3 hours of PD. Also, like I said before, I drive a Jeep. And so I went to Windrock Park and stayed there instead of the hotel. And my supervisor said, yeah, we'll take care of it. And he goes, where'd you stay? And so I stayed in a tent. I have no problem tent camping. I stayed in a tent. I got me a place. Windrock Park is really neat. They have those little round houses. They have big houses. They have small places to stay, like little bunk houses. And then they have pull up where you can do your RV or whatever. But I would go into town to Oak Ridge, go to professional development in person, and then I would go back and I would ride the trails in the afternoon. But I stayed there. It wasn't a very far drive, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in Oak Ridge. But going, I got so many free resources, like the spectroscopy blue thing I have. I got a cardboard one with all kind of details. and little film to stick in there. And over the years, they've not made it, but you know, several of those for free. I learned about and I think somebody else has had it on here. I know that Leanne and I have talked about before, and I think she's a member like I am of the Civil Air Patrol. I have a hard time ordering stuff from them because things I need and want sometimes are taken up if I don't order quick enough. But they give you, you pay $35, you get a code for them, and they usually are on site to help you more. And they've even, as part of their PD, went over to the airport and let you fly in a military airplane. Now, I did not get in on that class that year, and I've always wanted to go back and do that. But they have, but it's all free. It's all stuff that, you know, anything from chemistry to STEM, anything STEM wise. They have a lot of great PD. I did watch the one on Minecraft. I wanted so bad, but I can't grasp it enough to teach it. So still working on that. But anyway, they've got a good program with that. Finch robot loan. I have the old Finch. I started this back a long time ago. I'm sure somebody said something about it. I know a lot of STEM people have the new ones, but if you have not taken advantage of that, I usually get my STEM robot loan where it will come in April, and I get it April, May, June in case I do any kind of little summer school program. And the kids do it all. You give them a few details about it, and in the past, I've done it with third graders through fifth. I've done it with seventh graders, and I have done it with eighth for a couple of years. But I try to do it after we get finished with testing, and it amazes me things that these kids can learn so quick. But the new ones have a hole in the middle of it where you can put the marker in it. You can draw. They will send you the equipment you need. They will send you markers and things like that, all in your kit. I usually ask for 15 because that just gives me enough to get two or maybe one, depending on how big my classes are. But the Finch Robot Loan, great resource, great thing to have. So I think that has got me. And I tore up my thing. Anybody have any questions or concerns or anything? I know I talk fast. I know in chat that she put my PowerPoint in there. So if you need like some of the items I do for Fear Factor, things like that. But if there's any questions you have, especially if you have any questions about Coon Creek, I think it's a great resource. I think it's a great place to go. They have programs now where they'll pay for your buses to take kids and things like that. It's a drive. There's nowhere to eat. You'd have to take lunches. I try to write a grant here. We have grants here that we can write for Coon Creek and stuff. So anyway, any other questions or concern? It is right above where you made that comment. It should be in that SharePoint. And if it asks you to give permission, just send me a message, but it should open. It's in the chat. Anything else? Any other questions? I know that was a lot of different things, but I kind of wanted to give you kind of a mix of different disciplines and different things so you would have some resources.
I am going to go ahead and reshare that. That was in the chat in case someone joined late and they didn't see it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if you joined right after I posted it, then you might not see it, but I went ahead and reshared
Okay.
the link for
Good
you.
deal. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Oh, no, not at all.
I am non-technology. So, anything else? I think I'm a little under my time, but I tried to put a lot in that. So you had a lot to go with.
You had a lot of great information. Thank you so much for sharing
Well,
that.
and I know some of it's repeat, and I know some of it's a lot of stuff you do in your classes already because, you know, we do so much, but some of it, you know, if you just take, you know, mix it up a little bit.
Right. Absolutely. And I think it I think maybe a lot of people, especially if you're new, you might not have seen some of those resources. So I think it's always great to share. So thank you so much for sharing that information. Also, guys, I went ahead and put a link in the chat. And the link in the chat is for you guys to fill out your survey, to let us know that we're doing our job and that you like our workshops and that we can still continue to get funding. So I've put that link in the chat. And if you guys don't mind to fill out that survey, I would greatly appreciate it.
And I put my email. Somebody asked about my email.
Mhm.
If you need anything, I'll be glad to help. I'll be glad to interact. If you need a resource for something, I do have some more resources for physics or spectroscopy. I mean, I even got this out, which this is very expensive, but I got it for free in a workshop I went to. But this shows the map of the whole universe. It shows where all kinds. My kids just want to pour through this because it charts out the whole universe and talking about different things. So, I mean, astronomy, geology, that's kind of my wheelhouse. Chemistry, don't ask me a lot about biology. I have to force it. So,
I have to force it when it comes to geology. I'm not gonna
oh,
lie.
really? Yeah, I told
So
you today it's going to start boring as dirt, but we're going to do the best we can to make it work.
that's awesome. I
So,
think if I'd have had a teacher like you, I would have been really excited about earth science and space science and
someday
geology.
I tell my scary stories about not going to take lava rocks from volcanoes. And I've been in the Bell Witch Cave and I literally picked every crumb out of my hiking boots because that's cursed too. So I'm not taking that back with me. I, I'm not. He has stuff shipped back to him all the time where that people, and I pick up rocks everywhere I go. And most of the time, I can't confirm or deny if they say we can have it. That makes me even worse. And I walk with rock in my sock all day. But no, not touching Bell Witch whatsoever. Nope.
That's funny. Well, guys, thank you all so much for joining with us today. I hope you enjoyed the workshop. Lori, thank you so much for sharing this wealth of information.
Well,
I
thank you for giving me the
appreciate it.
opportunity. I like to talk science with people that actually want to hear science. So,
Yes, absolutely. When I try to talk science at home, I will literally get eye rolls, and my husband will be like, not science again.
yes, yes,
So
so
I
bad.
enjoy it. I also put in the link, guys, just the link to our website and information that David would normally share with us, our lending library manager. He had to leave because he is in a class. He's taking a class to work on his master's. So there's some links I shared with you. Also the Facebook link, past recordings of our STEM Hub meetings. This one will be on there as well, so you can check that out at a later date. And thank you all so much for joining. I've got everybody's name, and I see that most everybody is throwing in a thank you or verifying their name and email address, which is perfect. That takes out the whole point of having to do the registration. So saving you one extra step. So thank you all so much for joining. Miss Lori, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will
Thank you.
I will send out your PDPs and send in all the information for your stipends and then send a follow-up email later this week.
Great deal. Thank y'all. I appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all. Have a great evening.